things that the legislature had implemented.
One of the things they implemented and they were doing, and I'm not sure they're doing anymore, is prisoner, if you've got a jail that's under capacity and one that's over capacity, they would send some.
Right, and the other prisons weren't supposed to charge for that. Like Cumberland County has been charging Oxford County $50 per prisoner per day. So Oxford has now said that if they don't get state aid, they will cease to operate the prison before the end of the year. That they are going belly up. And now somebody was like, well, why are you paying this to Cumberland? The law says they can't charge you.
Yeah.
Well, we weren't really in a position to haggle since we had too many prisoners.
Most of them anyway.
Most of them.
As long as they can see the center line. It's when you start
Damn, I
guessing.
didn't bring my
you drive
calculator.
the mill.
Yeah, I'm gonna rely on Jeff's calculating mind.
Keith?
Maybe
Do you want to wait for Josh to get here? He said we could go ahead. Anytime, Shannon.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll call this workshop to order. We have 3 of the selectmen here, and I believe 1 will be on his way. We're going to start tonight with the fire rescue EMA budget.
I have so many different versions of all these spreadsheets. It should be.
Your handouts?
Well, what are your wishes? I did an overview of the budget. Do you
Yeah.
want to
Well, I didn't know-
revisit the budget, or do you want to move on to the other pieces?
I think we'll go down through what the budget portion on our sheets here and see if there are any changes that we want to make or not.
Yep.
And then we can move on to the capital. Did you check my figures on the?
Yep. No, I did. I changed them actually to the chief's pay.
Yeah.
Let's see, does 57,498 sound right?
I had 57.9 and change, and I rounded up to 57.5.
Yep, I had 57498.01, I think is what it came
I
out to be. Just because I didn't calculate.
That's what I put in, was 57,498, which made the bottom line 306,577.58. And I actually have updated material, but that just confuses the issue sometimes.
So,
You were correct. It was in there wrong, so I did make that change.
all right. Everybody like round numbers at 57.5?
Yeah,
I mean, it just.
I'm not gonna beat
No,
$2
No,
short.
57.5 is a nice round number. And, so that's minus 1690 on the, minus 1690 off the bottom line, I think. Which also means, FICA, MERS, Medicare, workers' comp should all change, I would think.
Well, actually, FICA doesn't go against mine.
MER, they're on the same line, FICA slash MER.
So, and actually, I think, I'm not positive if I left it. You better look at it, because I'm not sure if I left formulas in my budget. If I left formulas in my budget, when I punched the new number in, it should have like recalculated it, but I'm pretty sure, I think I left formulas in there, but
Well, FICA, your bottom line for FICA MERS is, you've got a new printout?
yeah, in the updated sheets, yeah, actually, good point. I have an updated sheet. For FICA, my updated sheet, I have a requested total of 6154.78.
The total, the MERS and FICA, we have it combined here.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Well, I
Well, I had 6154.78 and then retirement 3507, so that'd be 96,
Oh, yes.
61, 62.
3507, you had 3610 before, so that you do have the formulas updated, so that's another 103 off. that one. 103 and Medicare. What number?
Oh, in this one I had 220671.
206. That's 24. Roughly $24 off that. And workers' comp, did you have a formula for that too?
I don't think workers'
It's
comp
just
is
a-
impacted by
yeah.
that.
That's a flat, yeah, premium. It's not based on payroll.
I thought it was based
It
on.
is based on payroll, but
Based on
it
previous
doesn't change
payroll, isn't
because
it?
we've already,
Oh, it's based on last year's payroll?
well, it's based on what we forecast to be this year's payroll. So it's not gonna change until after the first of the year and they'll do an audit. So they always come in and do an audit and then they adjust it for the previous year. So
Okay. So, well,
it is what it is for now.
okay. So that is a total of 1793, 1817 off the bottom line. 17,
Which includes the 1690.
which that includes the 1690. Which would be 306,582 is what I come up with. And what was
When I did it on the electronic version, I ended up with 306,577.58.
that sounds right because we were off by I added an extra $2 or so in. So, yeah. All right. Okay. Starting at the next line down, labor. The budget increase this year is 4%. He's asking for about $2,500 more than was spent last year, and that includes a raise to the rates is included in his summaries. I assume call volumes for this
I
year
guess,
is
just to make sure, you're looking at the town's version, correct?
yes,
Yep, okay.
yeah,
Which line are we on?
8,
Labor?
yeah.
Yep.
And I assume call rates been running about the same as it was last year. Or?
Yeah, it actually, I increased pay rates by 2%, and I pretty much based it. I think, going back to what I said, I'd have to go look at formulas. I think I actually used 3% for a number. I figured there'd be probably a slight increase in call volume, and then 2% pay rate increase is what I put on people's pay rate. So I think I used 3% actually for the number.
All right. Support and benefits section. I don't know that there's much we can do in that. So, other than what we've already done due to the salary. And operating expenses. Did anybody see anything that? I really didn't see anything that really stood out.
Utilities is 0. That's good.
No, zero change. Yeah, that
That's what I'm
changed.
saying.
Yeah.
Hopefully it stays that way.
Everything seemed to fall in line with expenditures from last year, and I didn't see anything unless somebody else saw something they wanted to. Actually, line 35, I'm not discussing the actual budget numbers, but do you have any more information?
I know you've been privy to some of the emails. I don't know if you've shared them, but
No, I haven't, but
that opened a bit of a Pandora's box up that I actually have a meeting on Wednesday with Lisbon. I actually talked to the Sheriff's Department again today. I do have some preliminary numbers from the communications people. And the preliminary numbers from the communication people are they don't handle Brunswick. So they're for the Sheriff's Department and LA 911. Set up radio equipment in, I'm gonna ballpark this, so don't hold me to it, but I believe one was almost $7,000 and the other was almost $8,000. It was either almost seven and, it was $1,000 difference. It was either almost 7 and almost 8, or it was almost 8 and almost 9. There was $1,000 difference between the two. It's either 8 and 9 or 7 and 8. That was setup costs. In both cases, they were recommending a dedicated IT line, which from what I'm not real familiar with that, but from what I understand, you have to pay a rental fee, just like a telephone line, and from what I've heard, it ranges, probably for us, would range $150 to $300 a month for the telephone
If I
line.
remember correctly, the telephone line one we had was like
Yeah, the
$360
telephone line was actually,
something like $360.
I could go back to the previous budgets, but I actually think it was somewhere, around $250 to $300 is what rings a bell.
So, and
So in both those cases where it would not be done with a radio link, it's not just a one-time setup fee. There's other costs besides the actual PSAP and dispatching fees.
do
So,
you see
I
an increase in service at any of the places that you were talking? And, 'cause, I
I gotta be,
mean, as you said, it's not
in
just
all
about
honesty,
money.
apples to apples, I gotta try to do this politically. The sheriff's department, in all honesty and fairness, it would be very similar. And in all honesty, all 3 of the cases would be one-stop shopping. Other cases would be one-stop shopping. The sheriff's department is a 911 PSAP center, so your call would be dispatched by the same center that was receiving it. LA 911 is a PSAP as well, so they would be the same place that your call was going to. In Brunswick, if they're interested, I gotta be honest, I haven't even approached Brunswick. I don't know if they're interested, but if Brunswick is interested, they're a PSAP as well. Out of the 4 dispatch centers we've been talking about, the only one that is not a PSAP is Lisbon. So that is definitely a big difference, because it's just a transfer of maybe from one station to another station instead of a transfer from one office to another office. So that makes a change there, and a change to the call, the person making the call, because if you've ever called 911, the current system in many cases, what happens is 911, what's your emergency type deal, you'll tell them, and then they'll start to take information, or they'll, if it's an EMS call, because they have to take, they have to EMD it is what they call it, emergency medical dispatch it. They have to do that before they transfer it unless they have 2 dispatches. Otherwise, what they'll say is, stand by, I'm gonna transfer you, and they transfer you to the appropriate service. All they actually do in many cases is just receive the call. They don't dispatch any units. So in some cases, they transfer the information. Some cases, they transfer the actual call. So for people on the 911 end, I guess the bottom line is you've got an emergency.
You don't want to be put on hold while they pull up
Yeah.
the next person to transfer your call to.
Yeah. So it definitely takes, any one of the others that are PSAP definitely take a step out of the process. As far as the levels of service, I would say Lisbon I've got a meeting Wednesday with Lisbon, and I'm hoping we can resolve some of the issues and stuff like that. They seem very receptive. We're sitting down and talking about it.
Do they have any statistics on the delay time between going?
Do they what?
Do they have any statistics on the delay time between when the call comes into the PSAP and to when they transfer to the
Yeah, well, the
dispatch?
standards that are supposed to be met, time standards for the actual call transfer, that it's supposed to happen within a certain amount of time. So
Do they have any, is there any recorded statistics whether they meet those standards or not?
yeah, the burden of documentation of proof falls upon the PSAP, not necessarily Lisbon. Lisbon's not responsible for transferring the call. The other centers are actually responsible for transferring the call. I guess I got to be totally honest. At the Sheriff's Department, my call to them today was not about transferring our service. It was rather about, the other night we were dispatched to Stackpole Road, and they dispatched United and us simultaneously. It even says that in when I talked to the head dispatcher, it even said that in the notes for the emergency, that they'd contacted Durham and United. Saturday, we were dispatched to 105 Pinkham Brook Road. Well, when we found out 105 Pinkham Brook Road had no children, they contacted the comm center, and the comm center contacted the sheriff's department, and they'd given the wrong number. So we had to switch to actually about 600 numbers different. And the same thing has happened recently, so with Rabbit Road. So that was like the third instance of mistakes in dispatching stuff. So that was part of my call there. So I have my reservations about where the sheriff's department is right now.
So they had given you the wrong address?
Yes. Yes. And for most people in the field, their perception is that we are the dispatching service. And we have
So that
nothing
reflects
to do
certainly
with
poorly on-
the dispatching service or the time for the call transfer. Otherwise than perhaps trying to buy the best possible service we can for the town. But anyways, you asked about the qualities of service. 911, I'll be honest, when I talked to 911, they were very interested in doing it with us, and they have I don't mean to slight anybody, but they have a service that it is a full service, but so it costs more money. You pay for the full service, but I'm not sure if that one would end up being affordable, because I talked with some of the other communities about their prices, and they weren't bad comparatively, but one of the things when I talked to her, she was reluctant to give me a price over the phone, one, until she talked to her board, and two, until she actually took a look at staffing, call volume and staffing, because if we're the straw that breaks the camel's back, the others are not gonna do cost sharing on the straw that breaks the camel back. We're gonna pick up the tab for that straw, so.
We'd end up kind of double paying at that point, because we.
Yeah, I'm not sure that it's really, I'm not sure at this time, unless another community was looking at going to LA 911, that is gonna come back being cost effective.
Because we're already paying for PSAP through the county taxes.
Well, actually, LA 911 would do our PSAPing.
Right, but it's through our county
Oh,
tax.
it's a separate fee.
It is a separate fee, okay.
It's a separate
Okay,
fee,
so we-
separate
It
invoice.
used to be part of the county
okay.
taxes.
That was separated a long
out.
time ago, or they
Okay.
were gonna go to court.
Okay, yeah.
So Brunswick I haven't got a hold of, but Brunswick's service is very similar to LA 911, and they are a PSAP. But here again, Freeport and Pownell, the ones we actually started with some of our shared services with, are actually dispatched by Brunswick currently. Quality of service, I don't know a lot of the intricacies, I just know how it's dispatched and what comes out over the air, and I'd say it's very similar to LA 911 in how it's transmitted and handled in the system within.
Is there a benefit, since we have relationships with Freeport and Pownell and mutual aid, is there a benefit of being on the same, being dispatched out of the same location as our primary mutual aid groups?
Well, if you look at it from that perspective, and you look how the community is laid out, the community, in all honesty, some of the situations I was referencing with Lisbon's fire department's actually closer to that. And we have automatic mutual aid just for that reason, because it's end result, it's not about our nose getting bent. The end result is supposed to be about the quality of the service that the citizens receive. So if another department is closer, it's not in their best interest for us. We're gonna go.
No, it's whoever gets there, whoever can get there
Ideal.
first and
Lisbon
most
is actually a
efficiently.
very ideal, nothing against Brunswick, Freeport, or Pownell, but even if I add Freeport and Pownell together, because our maps are broken down, our dispatching and our districts are broken down by the next closest community. And there's 4 communities that are closer, some that are very close to being that, but there's actually 5. Brunswick's a very small portion for their station. Lisbon is probably almost 50% of the community that they're fairly close to. Freeport and Pownell, small slice over this way, and Auburn, a small slice up towards Stackpole Road, Boy Hill Road. Lisbon probably is closer to a larger portion of the community than, well, actually, it's closer to a larger portion of the community than the other 3 added together. So Lisbon, in all honesty, otherwise than the fact that the 911 calls aren't received there as far as service, and sharing services and automatic responses and stuff, Lisbon, in all honesty, is in the best interest of the town of Durham. If we could work out the issues and maybe get them their PSAP back, it would be great. But their PSAP's never coming back. But yeah, so sharing with Freeport and Pownell was definitely a big plus. And they are probably, Lisbon's about probably around 50%, maybe a little more. Freeport and Pownell are the lion's shares of the remaining piece of the community. And as far as automatic mutual aid, in order to keep people's insurance down, the two communities we really need their services and their proximity to the citizens in town of Lisbon for automatic aid, because believe it or not, there's pieces of the Day Road, Shiloh Road, and even 125 that are beyond 5 miles, which most insurance companies use for grading. Auburn Pownell Road and Stackpole Road and the Gloucester Road, that's over 5 miles from our station. So North Pownell Station, those two communities are very beneficial to have automatic mutual aid agreements with the town, because it keeps our citizens so they don't pay for, otherwise the citizens that are paying taxes into our system would actually be considered a class 10 town, which you can go up north and buy a camp that's 200 miles from a fire department and you'll be going to be class 10, so they'd be paying the same rates. Too much or not enough?
No, it was useful, and my question wasn't a slam on anybody. It was truly because I didn't know how that all overlaps.
Yeah, in all honesty, I would love to work out Lisbon so we were actually moving forward and having had things straightened out, and so that we were doing things different, because
And there's going to be a fancy new bridge.
I don't see the PSAP options, and that's why I said the other night when I was sitting here that I think by the cost by the time we move, that I'm going to recommend what I think is best for the town of Durham. And right now, if I had to pick what's best, depending on the numbers that we get back for the dispatching service, I'd recommend that as far as the best service, we go with LA 911. I don't have Brunswick back yet, but if I look at cost and best ISO grading, automatic mutual aid, well, I think it changes the whole texture and the whole look of the picture, and that we really should try to work things out with the town of Lisbon. He's the guy that has to do it in the field behind me. Feel free to ask him if you'd like, but I think he's going to be inclined to agree that we'd really be best if we could work it out with the town of Lisbon and make it so it worked there.
I mean, if you look at it from a cost-benefit analysis and things like that, you're talking probably you're saying $8,000 for switchover plus another probably $3,600, $3,000 or something for the dedicated line. So the first year is going to be $11,000 and more, and then $9,000 more, and then it'd be roughly $1,000 more after that. But if you're not getting any better service, and that's just kind of looking at going with county. If you're not getting any better service, then
no, that's why when it was requested, I did it, and I'll follow through with the report and stuff. But the bottom line is, I think what I am going to recommend is going to be twice as expensive as what we're paying. I don't think there's going to be any cheaper options just because of the moving expenses and the dedicated IT line and stuff like that. So I don't think there's any cheaper options than what we currently have. So if you're not going to get, if we go with, let's say, county's probably going to be the next. They're probably going to be the next
best,
closest in price range
and so on, and you're not going to get much, if any, better service, and there's no.
Right now we have a radio link, so there's no telephone lines, IT lines, or anything like that to make it work. We do use internet for our software, our record keeping software and stuff like that. But it's not it doesn't have to be a dedicated line. It has to, have the firewalls and be secured and everything like that. But we don't have to have a dedicated line for operation of that. So I don't think I'm gonna. I don't think any of my numbers are gonna come back. Operationally, or as far as, you know, PSAP and dispatching service, yes, the numbers may come back, but it's cheaper, but at the sheriff's department. But by the time we pay for the dedicated line, not just the installation, but the monthly fees for the dedicated line, it's probably gonna be, I'm guessing, at least $100 to $150 more per month, so $1,200 to $1,800 more per year than what so we'll save 50 cents in per capita dispatching cost. So it's gonna be almost a wash, at least initially, be very close, but then we have the setup fees.
Okay. So, and just for your information, on this line, we've taken 1690 out of line 7 because that was a calculation error.
So was it this one here? Yeah.
Yeah, so we're at 57.5.
Okay.
We made an even number.
So really the only significant changes in the operating budget from last year are essentially things that are beyond our control. They are the increase in the workers' comp and the increase in the FICA MERS as a result of the fact that we finally used up our decades-old credit.
Yeah.
And those are two things that we have really no control.
Pretty much.
Yeah, actually, in all honesty, to soften the blow wherever I could, I actually, if you look, some of those lines are actually show a reduction.
Yeah.
And some of that was based on not needing particular pieces any longer and trying to soften the blow as much as I could.
We also took 103 out of line 15 based on what we did up above, and 24 out of line 16. So the
3 and 29. You said?
24 for a total of 1,817. Did you have any questions on any of the other lines? Because we were looking down through and...
No.
Okay. So we can go on to your capital and requests here.
Yeah, I think they're in the packet. I don't think I separated them.
Yeah, there's one under the budget requests, general fire rescue EMA budget requests, and like a third of the way down, we start doing the capital stuff. So, first one on the page is the fire.
Way back on your page?
No, we're actually on your.
On mine? Okay, yep. Fire station payments.
Right, this
station.
one? Well, I've written
Yep.
some notes, but that.
Yep.
just the
Fire
summary.
station payments, the first one.
Yeah.
It's actually 14 of 14. Yay!
So that's
Oh.
that's a given.
Might be easier if I gave you these. I just told you the last piece of this packet is actually you asked about the capital spreadsheets. I didn't include it going back all the way to, I started with like page 4, which is 2011 or something like that. So if you just take the last packet in this, it actually is
I think actually he meant for me to have one.
look at.
What?
I think he meant for me to have one.
Yes.
The last stapled packet in that package is actually the capital. I gotta find mine, huh? And it should start with, oh, there's mine. Should start with page 4. One of you guys get mine? One of them starts with page 4, but on the back of the packet it has 1, 2, 3. But anyways, that we don't really need that. Going based on my cover sheet, it last of the station payments. If you go to page 5, actually in that capital plan, would cover this year's. It covers last year's, the actual expense and the revenues that came in. Whereas in the column that's 2015 actual, and then in 2016 it covers the requests. So anyways, looking at the cover sheet, the station payment for 39,508 is in there. On my cover sheet I have it at 39,509.53. I don't know why I have that discrepancy, because it's always been a little under. But then based on looking at some of what we've been doing and stuff, and looking at some of the apparatus, and looking at the rescue revenues last year, which I don't think are gonna stay up there. That was primarily due to some fluke occurrences that I wouldn't count on. I guess if I see a 2 or 3 year history of that, I'd be comfortable with changing it. But if I don't see a 2 or 3 year history of that, I'd just call it a windfall and say thank you. But I did increase the projection, the revenue projection, and going back to what I had previously planned on asking it, I'd actually gone back in time, that had been more than 45. But anyways, what I put in the plan was the town's contribution was last year at 40, was increasing the town's contribution to the plan to 45. So that's a change of 5,000. Station payment, that's the last one as we discussed. Quint payment, it'd be number 3 of 6 for $33,000, and on the cover sheet I put it at $33,004, but at the actual payment for this one is actually $33,003.08. And then moving down, we talked the last time we met about that what I'd really like to do is take care of, instead I had them spread out through the capital plan. That last year we didn't spend a lot out of the capital plan. This year, if we do even if we do the truck the way the apparatus committee is recommending it, there'd be no expense this year towards the replacement engine. So I think, especially with paving where it's at, that this is perhaps the year that we should look at it. If you actually look at the new cover sheet I gave you, that's actually based on updated price quotes. At our last meeting, I said I'd go out and verify all the numbers if that's the path we were gonna go down. So the number you're seeing on page 5 where it says station work is also actually based on actual price quotes. So they came in at 69.8. What I ended up with was paving came in at 53,000, which that wasn't just quickly paving it, it was actually cutting out the cracks, and redoing that piece of it so that we didn't just put the 1 inch of finish coat on it and end up losing it. I guess from conversation with Crooker, what came back is most of the fire stations now are going with like 3 or 4 feet of concrete in front of their doors instead of doing the paving right away, just so that there's a gradual cushion transition. They insulate it underneath and do a cushion transition out of it. If you look at ours, it's exactly what they described. I've already had it fixed once, but we have ruts about this deep. They only drop a half an inch, but when they're dropping out of that station, they hammer enough so they just, like a constant compactor. So anyways, that 53,000 includes doing that. The 10,500, I verified that price quote. It was for the trim and the painting, as I quoted last year. They said to leave the number alone. They're good with the number. It included some of the interior stuff, but some of the interior stuff we've actually done on our own and stuff. We didn't do the bays. I don't know if I can get the interior of the bays done, but they felt that would be enough to address the outside, even though it was a last year's price quote. Floor repair. That is based on a price quote. I did call that number, and I left him a message. I haven't heard back from him, but at this point, unless he's substantially less, I guess I'd go with what I have in there. 2,900 is actually the price quote rounded up. The price quote's a local contractor, and his quote was actually 2,860. And then the final one, that's one that, if you guys choose, if I understand correctly, it made the trip in the telecommunications budget. That's actually a duplicate from the telecommunications budget request.
I think we discussed that some. I think we're gonna go with it there rather than here.
Right, yeah, that's what we decided.
So we can remove that one from this.
So that could actually be reduced by 3,400.
That would be 66.4.
Which would make the total 66.4
Yeah.
rather than 69.8. And for the most part, that would cover most of the issues at the station that need attention in the foreseeable future. Not to say there's not gonna be others down the road.
And I absolutely don't dispute at all the importance of paving that to save it. I can tell you from the number of people that we have had sitting in those chairs wanting to know when our roads are gonna get paved, that standing up at town meeting and saying that we're gonna spend $50,000 paving the parking lot is gonna get a little pushback, I think. People are pretty riled about getting some paving done on the roads, so I'm just warning you to be prepared
No,
for that.
I fully understand that. The bottom line is, I know my take on it is, what I try to do at my house is if I try to, and I know people find this hard to believe, but I do try to manage it
You gotta
like my
save what you have
personal
before it gets
affairs. I
bad.
pay taxes in town just like everybody else, and, you know, at my house, if I get something to a certain level, I try to maintain it that level and get everything else there at some point in time.
And if you don't, it's much more
I
expensive to fix it
fully
once it
understand though, there's
goes.
gonna be pushback about, well, but the bottom line is actually Crooker said it and Calvin said it, that really should have been done 3 or 4 years ago, that we're gonna lose the paving if we don't do it. So then we can go down the same path we do with
And
the
it'll be
roads, about, well, we're
substantially more
losing the
expensive
roads,
to
so let's
fix it then.
redo those, so. My vote would be to maintain, and it's not just because it's the fire department, my vote would be to maintain what we have and then add to it.
I agree.
He mentioned the same thing with the town garage, so.
So we've gotta save what we have, or we're gonna be,
Well, that's fine, I got broad shoulders, I'm
Bigger.
ready for it. If you guys let me go to the floor representing that, I'll go to the floor representing it.
So if we take these one at a time, the first one, the fire station payment, that's no brainer.
Right?
I mean,
Yeah.
we gotta do that. Next one, what we'll authorize to put into the capital improvement account. Last year we did 40, request is 45 this year. Thoughts?
I would be inclined with all the other things to do 40 rather than the increase of 45, where there was the extra windfall and $10,000 more in intercepts than you were planning on, that sort of boosted the revenue.
I was gonna suggest to split that between the two, but, I mean, you could be cutting hairs at that point, I guess, so.
I will say, if you look, and I think I represented this last year, I tried to mellow it a little, because last year I'd represented 10, and I tried to mellow it so that the increases were like $5,000 per year for the town's contributions into there and stuff. But yeah. I don't think rescue revenues generated rescue revenues, and actually there's been questions on us whether we should put it there or not, but I don't think generated rescue revenues will keep pace with the inflationary rate on some of the apparatus and equipment we have to buy, so.
I mean, if you, historically, it stayed roughly the same until this year. It had been staying.
Rescue revenues, yeah, actually, they had a high point. I wish I knew where my, one of you must have a page 1 through 3. But anyways, 'cause I had a special packet
Yeah,
for
right
me,
here.
that in case there were questions about page 1 through 3. It's actually in the back. But anyways, going back in time, because Keith behind me, he's one of the ones that, wow, can't you increase those rescue revenues at one point? Because we did have a peak here that came up to like, about 5 years ago, that came up around 52, 53.
Right.
Might even been 54. I really think that was based on a specific situation.
Is that what you're thinking?
No, actually what it was these packets, the capital budget, all started 4, 5, and 6, and 7. But I actually had my own, I'd made it so I had 1, 2, 3 after.
I got a 1, 2, 3, 4 here.
So, but we won't worry about it.
You've got 1, 2, 3?
I got a 1, 2, 3, and a 4 hooked to
At
it.
the back,
Well, right here, I got 1, 2,
you got
3,
the
4.
double secret packet then. If yours starts at 4 and goes to 7 and then has 1 through 3 at the tail end of it.
Well, I got 1, 2, 3, 4 there, and then I got 4, 5, 6.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, the whole pack, it'd be a single packet with just 1, 2, 3 at the tail end of it.
Oh, no, and I got page 7
No,
too.
you're all set. Phew.
Okay.
I thought we were gonna have to call those kneecap guys on you.
You have any thoughts, Josh, on it? Or?
No, I mean, I see where he's trying to go. I mean, I do wonder if it might be a little more palatable on the paving side if we dropped it to 40, but at the same time, you know, if we left it where it is, then the budget committee could hem and haw over it.
What do we have in it now, that account?
What?
What do we have in that account now?
It's on the,
Yep, it's actually, if you
Basis,
look
what I was
at
looking at.
2015, page
This
4,
number was
Page 4.
no, sorry, page
Sure.
5,
Yeah, yeah.
wrong. So
2015,
many other
where it
things
says
going on this
actual,
year.
Right.
and you look at the very bottom, I think that
It's
probably comes pretty close to agreeing with your numbers, that
got that in here too.
157, 762. Because theoretically, what we should actually try to do with this account is it, Alan used to always say with this, and I hated to listen to it, but I have to agree with him, we should not be doing it based on anticipated revenues
bless.
from like rescue and stuff like that. That it's one thing if we do it based on revenues generated by the town. So theoretically, when it, on the actual columns, that bottom number,
According to this, it's 157.
plus the town's contribution should never exceed what our expenses are, or we're actually basing our expenditures on anticipated revenues generated from a service rather than tax revenues and actual cash on hand. Does that make sense what I said?
Yeah.
So that
There should be enough in
150
here to cover it if you didn't get none of the other,
Yeah,
basically.
in the ideal situation, that actual column should cover our expenses for the next year.
Yeah.
You're gonna find years that it's gonna go up or down a little, but as long as it's staying pretty close and it's not drastically under.
So we're at 157 plus right now, and if we do everything that's listed here, taking out of the account everything that's listed here, that's 139. So it's a difference of 18.
Right, because my paper actually shows 142, 311.08, but it's actually reduced by 3,400.
That's because
I'm
you're
assuming
taking,
that's what you talked about probably doing, was taking that out.
So
that's because you took this payment out?
Turn my page
Is that what
off.
you're saying?
I know, well, I saw the truck go by and I was like, wait a minute.
I'm torn between, I mean, I just know what our budget's gonna be looking like this year, because we are gonna be putting in likely putting in for roads.
Quite an impressive looking group, aren't they, huh?
Oh, yeah,
Just a
especially,
group of volunteers providing that excellent service right there.
especially at night, I mean, they really show up nice.
Good light bulbs.
I mean, I know that it's going to be a pretty hefty shock and so on. $5,000 doesn't necessarily make or break the budget either way. And I mean, I know looking into the future, it may make sense, but it's,
I can make it easy for you. If you
Right,
would
and
like,
I was-
I'll make it easy for you. Split the difference and call it 50.
split the difference.
So how was that about?
Amen.
I was going 42.5, like I say, could be just splitting hairs at that point, so.
You know, can I say something? Last year I talked a little bit about people voting, and if they have no reason to come out and vote, why are they gonna come out and vote? At some point, there's gotta be a difference for them to vote for. This is a perfect example of, you put your number in, let the budget committee put their number in. Let the town decide.
That's where I was going with it, I mean.
Well, but really, on all ideally situation, the budget committee and the selectmen's budget should be pretty darn
I
close.
mean, we're
It
all trying to
shouldn't
look out for
be,
the best interest
Yeah.
fiscally of the town.
and it shouldn't be a competition.
So don't complain that nobody comes out to vote.
Well, I'm just saying, it's not really about, there shouldn't be a competition between the two committees. That's really not why it's set up, and if
We're
there
not
was
trying
a
to make
competition, then
sport to
we're
draw
doing something
people
wrong.
to.
Yeah, they really should be pretty close. The budget committee is basically a balancing check. It really is what that is. So if you end up getting a competition between the two, both committees are doing something wrong. So that's really not what that's about, so.
The chief is telling you what he thinks he should
Right.
have to run the fire department.
No, I agree. And I understand that too, and I kind of briefly mentioned this early. I was looking at something else that somebody sent in here. That person is worried about theirs, the chief's worried about his, road commissioner's worried about his. the town office is worried about theirs, but we gotta worry about everybody's, including the taxpayers, which you guys are worried about taxpayers too, so it puts us in a little different spot than it does you guys with your entities. I mean, I get where you're going with this, I'd like to say yes too, I really do, I get it, but, you know, I also see what's coming down the road with, as Sarah mentioned earlier, with the roads and stuff, and I don't, you know, I don't.
And my initial proposal about reducing it from 45 to 40 was a reflection of the fact that when, on this spreadsheet, it factored in and anticipated, among the anticipated transport revenues was $48,000. It turned out to be $62,250, so $14,000 more than expected. So if we have a really tight budget year this year, we're not really pulling out of, by taking 5,000 out, it's not really reducing your bottom line by 5,000 because you've got this unexpected other money in there. So it's still, it's not having a dramatic impact on the bottom line.
That there is two ways to look at it. If you go to page 4, I didn't give you the previous page, but if you go to page 4 and look at actual, and look at what was anticipated for transports in 2012, we anticipated 48. We got 43,249. 2013, we anticipated 48, we got 43,066. 2014, we anticipated 48 and got 47,687. So I guess my point is this year here, I don't think we should base things on what this year shows. I don't think we should base them on those low years because going back in time, I really think that, and I don't know whether it's
Right, and I
alignment
wasn't
of the
looking at the
stars or what
historical, I was
call
really
volume
just trying to
was
look
really
at the numbers that I've seen sort of across the whole
Yep.
spectrum of the down for this year and how we can
Yep,
juggle them all and try to cover everybody to the best of our ability.
I actually got nervous at anticipating them at 52,000 for next year.
I kind of agree on that because, yeah, if we go.
It doesn't fit the pattern,
Yeah.
but it's like, well, you know, I can't show 62,000 in revenues and not and only anticipate 48.
What was the increase in transports though last year? I mean, I assume there was.
I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but I want to say last year we actually didn't do. Normally we'd do around 100 and. I'm gonna be out in left field on this. I want to say it's about 190 to 200 EMS calls. Our actual transports were about 120, 130. I think last year our EMS transports were about 180. So I want to say that's a number that I can remember seeing. You remember when they just sent out the spreadsheet on last year's incident patient run reports? I want to say the number in there was around 180, 190 for actual transports, not for runs. So they
I can assure you that if we give everybody in every department what they want, your transports will go through the roof when property tax bills come out because there will be cardiac arrest everywhere.
We don't like heart attack victims.
But in all actuality, to Keith's point, if people have the interest in what their tax dollars are, they should come out whether there's difference between the budget committee and not, because they can change it on the town floor. They have that option. And not only that, but if you look out there and you see what's been showing up for the town meetings, since we don't really have to deal with the school budget like we used to, that's where the biggest part of your budget goes. And a lot of those people don't show up anymore. And a lot of those people, when they did come back then,
Yep.
when it was over, they got up and left.
Well, they
So
don't
you
show
ended
up
up
in
with the
that
same
meeting
amount of
anymore.
people, so.
But this year it's going to be in Durham.
The only time they have a lot of concern is when they get their tax bill. For 2 weeks, that's all you hear about, but then they don't show up. That's where they should show up. They should show up at the town meeting and either add or subtract and listen to what you guys have to say. That's really where they should, but we can't bus them there. At least I'm not gonna bus them there.
Try that and then do it tomorrow.
Has, in the past, when you've stood on the town floor, have we talked about the capital improvement plan and the money that, you know, you've kind of broken down? I mean, I know you've demonstrated it for us before, so that you could show that this is where we need to be, this is what the replacements, you know, whichever years, so you could show that you're trying to do this without having a huge spike.
So
So people
and
have
if you
seen
look
that at
across,
the town meeting.
if you look across this over the course of the years and stuff, that's actually, to me, that's what a capital improvement plan
Right.
is supposed to do. It's supposed to project your expenditures and try to, going back in time, some of you may not be old enough, but back along, we used to, would all of a sudden get hit with a $300,000 expenditure and stuff, and it was just a spike for that 1 year or 2 years.
Oh, I would love to see this much planning for every asset that we own in town. I think it would be brilliant if we had this organized for everything.
Yep.
Was 2014's 35 or was that 40? For this?
No.
I remember you showing us
Pretty sure all the spreadsheets show 40, if we have the person that knows right here.
20,
I actually think I asked for 50.
It's an actual.
2014 was 35, you asked for 40. 2015
Was-
Okay,
was
that's
for
right.
40.
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
And you asked for
It's
50.
on page 4.
So if you go ahead though, you can see it's jumping to 50.
I got two
and
page
then
fours, so-
55, and it
Oh,
jumps
you weren't
to
talking
change.
about last year, you were talking about 2 years.
Right, yeah, I'm sorry, yes, I was talking about 2014, I'm sorry. I'm still last year is 2015. 14.
Yeah, I don't know.
You want to hold on this one until we have a full board?
I don't know if I don't think that'll make a big difference. I mean, I don't mind going, splitting the difference, 42.5, not 50.
I was trying to figure how that was splitting.
We're in a different math class.
Yeah,
What can I
was.
say?
All right, 47.50.
I'm not really sure he split it when he did it.
Yeah, I never good at math. Sorry.
I mean, that's, 'cause I know that coming down here, he's gonna have a fight. I shouldn't say fight, I don't like to look at that, but he's gonna have a lot of questions about the paving and all this other stuff, but I think the paving more than anything, so.
Protect investments.
I agree, I'm not doubting that a bit.
So,
Just a matter of what people, but I said it last year, it all depends on what you guys wanna have for tax, pay for
Protecting
taxes.
investments sometimes is hard.
And we did take, the 4,000 or 30, I crossed it out so I can't read it, the 3,400, 3,900 for the cameras.
Right.
That would have come out of your budget, we were able to shift that into, or would have come out of your capital money, we were able to shift that into telecommunications.
Which, so you're trying to say it's actually a net gain of $900 when I'm all said and done?
which,
Exactly, see, you're winning.
You know, my thing is, I mean, you look at this line and in the coming years, it has to go up, and I see you've got it all the way up to 75,000 in 2022. I mean,
and the other thing I'm concerned is, with engine 22 replacement, whether we decide to go with it this year or next year, or when we decide to go with it, that's gonna start taking a pretty hefty hit on us, because you have it listed here, I think it was 7 years at 72,500 is what I counted.
It is
and-
listed.
Yeah, if I counted it right, I think it was for 7 years, which would make sense for
Yep, 72.5 at 7 years.
on the purchase price.
The actual package price was $474, and I figured we were gonna come out somewhere around between 500 and 510 if we get a 2.5 to 3% interest rate somewhere in there.
That's really gonna start hitting that account pretty hard. We will, the fire station payment ends this is our last year, which is good, but this is not quite, but close to twice as much as that.
Yeah, I think some of the plan lays it out. It only goes to 24.
Yep.
And there is a spell there where it starts to, because going back in time, it was a quick, what the municipality, we in the budget committee wanted was a catch-up plan to bring the apparatus up so they were in good shape and stuff, but, and I think we've done that, but in order to get the plan kicked off, like, not the, Engine 22 was actually, and I don't think we've ever recommended one since then, but I don't think it's necessarily negative piece of engine 22 or engine 2 at the time was actually, we went the very lowest price so that we could actually start the plan and get it moving. I think as we progress some of the investments and some of the apparatus and stuff, I think the committee will have to gradually look at it and say, well, hey, when exactly do we need to plug it in? I do think 2019, I think it is, says the rescue. I do think the rescue was originally plugged in there at 12 years, and I do think in 2019, the town definitely wants to be considering replacing the rescue. If you, we're starting to see little issues coming up, but the little issues are actually $3,000 to $5,000 issues, which to me that's starting to go beyond regular maintenance and stuff. So.
Yeah, that's more than little issues. That's more than little issues.
In my book it is.
Yeah.
If it was my vehicle, you know, the vehicle, I have to take it proportionately because that equate to a $15,000 to a $200,000 repair on my vehicle if we do proportionally based on the price. But nevertheless, if I was starting to see repetitious repairs on my vehicle of $1,500 to $2,000 annually besides maintenance, I'd be starting to think about, well, okay, what's the future hold for me? So I actually think, hopefully, the recommendation from the committee for the engine flies, but I actually think once that starts happening, the committee's gonna have to stay an active committee and start looking at what they're gonna, preparing recommendations so that not the purchase can happen in 19, but the delivery can happen in 19, which, if you look at it realistically, probably means approval in 18 if you're gonna replace the rescue in 19. Most of that stuff is 7 months to 14, 15 months behind. Is the economy seems to be improving. If municipalities start to try to get back on track with some of this stuff and everything, I actually don't think, wouldn't be a bit surprised to see 12 to 18 months delivery times down the road.
And that's roughly what it would cost for a rescue, is $50,000 a year?
What's that?
Is that what it would cost?
No, that was a budgetary price.
Oh.
Going back, one of the things I would try to put in for grants, I don't know if we'll be successful to do a cardiac monitor, but one of the things that includes the purchase price of a rescue and hopefully the replacement of a cardiac monitor, because with technology changes and with the equipment aging and everything, a cardiac monitor, the last one we bought was, we got it through a grant, but it was like $28,000. With upgrades, that was done since, it probably would have cost about 33 to 35. So that includes hopefully the funds for the actual rescue purchase, cardiac monitor, and the interest for payments.
All right, well, that's where I'm at with that. That's my thought. Whatever you're doing. Splitting it, yeah. I mean, so it's probably kind of splitting hairs at that point, but I know it's gonna come.
If I would reduce it at all, it would only be because of the paving that needs to be done. But I mean, I could agree with you on that, 42, you know.
I mean, ideally, what we should do too is, even though this payment of the fire station is gonna be done this year, we should still keep that in somewhere here at this point, whether it's to put towards if you guys get a new truck or whatever.
That's money that's already set aside, so we just wouldn't be
Right.
taking out of the fund.
That's what I'm saying,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So that kind of frees up some fund, because you've got a set amount that's going in. When that rolls off, that frees up some funds that can be used towards something else.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, anything with a capital plan, anything you do, it's not necessarily the short-term impact, it's the long-term impact that you gotta watch, because that's what will bite you in the tail section.
Well, that's why, you know, I asked about, you know, the presentation. I mean, so the townsfolk have seen the impact of taking money out of this each year, yeah? And, you know, because, I mean, like I say, you look here, and if you're following where the chief says we're supposed to be, I mean, it goes 45, 50, 55, all the way up to eventually 75,000, you know, to keep the fund where it needs to be without seeing a huge spike. You know, but I hear you, at the same time, people are gonna be on and on about, you know, why are you paving? You know, that's an expense there too, so I mean, if I would cut it at all, it would, you know, like you say, 42.5. still say we could leave it in, and if folks don't like it, they could vote it down, you know, and say no, stick it, you know, they could get back up on the floor and say, leave it at where it was last year, you know?
Well, they still may. I mean, they still have that
Right,
option.
right.
They still have that option to add it back in, for that matter. Depends on how strongly they feel either way.
Right, that's true,
That
that's true.
doesn't happen in our town meeting.
Well,
It only happens at
I
the
would-
school meetings.
I know. I'd be surprised it did, but, you know, you never know. You got new people moving in all the
And
time.
last year, a couple things got, small things, but there were a couple things that got increased.
Ultimately, it's gonna come down to the vote of the floor, so.
What's your thought then? Are you,
My thought was to drop it down to 40,
so-
as I said at the beginning, just to reflect the lots and lots of other things that seem to be on the table this year.
I don't know. I guess I could go with a 42.5. I could go with any one of the three actually, and if we can get to
In the grand scheme of the budget that we're talking about,
it's
$5,000
minimal.
is not
It's minimal, and I mean I could support 45 as well, but let it go to the town. The budget committee can make their recommendation as well. I think I actually am leaning towards 45 because I see this. The cost of this new engine is so much more than it's been. I mean,
Well, that's
it
it.
being almost $500,000 when all is said and done, that's really gonna give this fund a beating. It was looked like 7 years worth of it, and
You know, and and looking at these higher amounts in the following years, is that, you know,
because even
it's more of a gradual step to get there.
even if we don't, even if the town or whatever doesn't decide to go with it this year, sometime in the next 2-3 years, we're gonna have to do it. We're gonna have to replace this truck.
Well, that would be
sometime.
my next question, I guess, for the apparatus committee is the engine, because it sounds like sort of the rescue and the engine are both on the front burner as far as replacement needs. And am I correct in understanding that the engine is the bigger priority, but the rescue is right behind it?
Yeah, I don't know if they've actually visited it as a committee, but this engine here was originally planned in at 20 years. Some of the other engines that were or apparatus were purchased were questioned as to whether we extend that time frame because of the materials and not necessarily. I hate to focus on price because price doesn't always buy quality. But the way they're constructed, yeah, that's a better way to phrase it. The way they're constructed and the materials in them, some of the future ones may be able to look at a change in the age. As a general rule, rescues are replaced in the 5 to 10 year time frame. When we originally put it in there, we recommended going with 12 years just because our run volume is not excessive. We do have our transports along. Our transports, not sure exactly what the mileage is, but the coast is hard.
Right, we're
Probably a
rural,
Central
so
Maine or a
yeah.
mid-coast, so you're probably talking 20 to 30 miles, whereas for a lot of services, that's 2 to 6 runs. So the miles are getting on there, but I don't think we can wait longer, and I definitely don't think we can really switch places. Going back, got notes here somewhere, but going back to 2006, I think is when we didn't do refurbish it, but we did some extensive repair work to the body and stuff. We actually had it out of service for about 3 months doing repair work. What we actually tried to put out to everybody was that we wanted it to last 7 to 10 years. And nobody would warranty that, this is going to make it 7 or 10 years. I know my observation, what I'm seeing is an apparatus that's almost back to that point where it was when we put it out for that work. I'm starting to see some of the, boy, if you don't do something on this pretty quick, it's gonna come around and you're gonna be regret it. So I really think the order is the way we need to have it. And I don't think, because I actually looked at it here, is from a perspective of can we push the rescue out? Like I said, I want the committee, depending on what happens with this, to visit like the rescue purchase and start looking at that, because the next thing, if you go even further out, I think the next one in line for 23 or 24 is actually looking at doing something on the Quint, because going back to time, what we discussed with the Quint was, I believe, 6 to 10 years, 6 to 8 years or something like that, you know, so the Quint is actually, it's gonna be 30 years and old in 2024. You might squeeze a little more time, but I actually think I may, you're already there.
But I think
Have
it is,
listed on page 7?
Yes.
Yeah, page 7.
Yeah. And again, I'm gonna talk like I'm gonna be here in 2024. I would recommend the town try to partner up with somebody else that's gonna have a used ladder truck coming out, much like this Quint did, because I think we got an excellent bang for our buck. I think you'd find anybody that's had it utilized at their house or their neighbors would agree that it was probably one of the wiser purchases we've made in a while. But that's coming due. So I guess that's kind of what I was saying with the, even though we look at things sometimes as short-term impacts, and for right now, with a capital plan, if we change an engine, well, now we create more of an overlap here, and the depletion of resources, and so it, yeah, the whole thing kind of ties together, and it's made so that the water stays nice and smooth. Well, as soon as you throw a rock in the middle of the pond down here, it's gonna cause a ripple effect that you're gonna see way across the pond on the other side, so, I don't know if you were hoping maybe we could move it out further.
Oh, no, I was just trying to get a sense of the timing as far as we're looking at the capital plan. Are we looking at an apparatus a year kind of moving forward?
Yeah, no, I think actually the next one on the schedule is the truck 24 in 2020.
So we just have to get through the engine and the rescue and then,
But it actually, really what it is if you're gonna, with 6 apparatus, if you figure it out, and you do it even based on an average of 24 years,
Yep.
6 apparatus, every 4 years, you've gotta be replacing an apparatus.
Rescue in 24.
Just quick and easy math. Some of them can go longer, some of them don't.
yeah, it's an approximate, it's an estimation.
So, I guess to move this along, we haggling over $2,500. Is that where we're at or not?
Yeah, basically, because we can get the
But I mean,
42.5 with the 3 of us. I mean, I could do it. I'd actually like to see 45, I think.
if we're hanging over that, it's not gonna be a huge difference there. I'm gonna suspect it's gonna show up somewhere else here. I can live with that at this point.
So right now, we'll keep it at 45, because I heard you said you,
Yeah, I mean, I would,
Yeah, I can live with that at this
Okay.
point. Looking at these here, thinking what it's gonna do down the road, I'm not so sure how we're gonna make up some of these others. That's not huge money in the realm of the whole picture, but if you start adding all those little things up, and there are people on the town floor who do, if your taxes are up to 15, 17, 18, 19%, they can chop 1% here off here and there, not all they're gonna, so.
the only thing is, this stuff down here,
This cap, yeah, I know.
that doesn't do anything to their taxes.
No,
because it's already put aside.
Right, no, I get that.
The only number that actually impacts your taxes on this sheet, once we get into the capital stuff, is that 40,000 versus that 45,000. The rest of it comes out of a per se savings plan.
Yeah.
Net impact to your finances, but not on your immediate taxes for this year.
Well, that's what this other number
So,
was talking about.
so if we keep that for now at 4,500, 45,000.
4,500, now we're talking totally different
I'm
numbers.
doing your math again.
He's splitting difference now.
So what are you recommending? 47.5?
No, I think
37.5. Okay, we can go with
okay,
that.
45,000. Quint payment, that's
It's a given.
already out there, so. And then we have, with the security cameras gone, The request is to do the paving at 53, trim and replacement at 10.5, and floor replacement at 2,900, for a total of 66,400. It's amazing how expensive paving is for a small lot, but and that's
with the oil prices at a historic
Yeah.
low.
Have you ever done that crack seal or anything over there like that? Have you?
Yeah, actually, we have.
I wonder how that chip seal holds. Has that ever been
It did.
thrown out there? Just curious.
I'm not an expert on paving. I talked to the guy briefly in the ad. Calvin actually lined up Crooker to come over. And Calvin actually, when he initially asked me, he said, well, when was the paving done? Which the paving was done when the station was constructed. And we moved into it in 2002. So call it 2002. I'm not sure exactly whether it was 2001 or 2002. What everybody has told me, and Calvin, even when I said this, he said, no, it should be done in 10 years. You should, a lot of places, they just put the rough coat
Yeah,
and don't do
yeah.
the finish coat to save money, and that it should be done in 10 years. We said we're already past our threshold. They have done the crack seal, back actually, now I'm losing his name, I can't believe that. Road commissioner.
Oh, Sean?
Yeah, Sean actually had it done for us, 2 years ago, had the crack seal done on it, which it doesn't seem to be holding up too bad. I have noticed it seems to be settling. What they all told me is that once you do the crack seal, that you definitely need to follow it up within a few years and get it straightened out, or it, in the end, actually only makes it worse. What they told me. I wish Calvin was here to explain it better, because I'm not an expert on paving. I took other people's word for it, but the guy from Crooker said pretty much the same thing, that you asked me, he said, 10 years you should have it done. And so I said, well, I said, and we talked a little bit, and then I said, well, what can you do for options as far as, I said, I'm sure money's gonna be an issue, and he said, well, he actually, my discussion with him, I got the impression what he was gonna recommend was really, I won't say bottom end, but really what we should do if we wanna hold it.
And also one of the things, at least my understanding from Calvin, is that if we do end up approving some kind of road construction paving project, that the more
Paving.
business paving that we are doing within the same area with Crooker, that brings the costs down.
Yep.
They don't have to move their equipment around as much, so that may be a factor as well.
No, that
Drive the cost down a
definitely,
little bit.
that definitely could come into play. Because Calvin actually, when he emailed me the information, gave me the guy's cell phone. He says, if you want to wheel and deal with them, you can definitely wheel and deal with them and see if you can make something work. Obviously, if the town's doing paving and we can tie it with the town's paving, I mean, you are correct. If we have them here and we keep their crews tied up for a couple of weeks or something instead of a week and a half, everything becomes cheaper proportionately. But for budgetary purposes, I guess I wouldn't recommend.
Oh, no, absolutely, I'm just
Count
thinking
on that,
about,
but I would definitely, in all honesty, if I can tie it to the town paving and tell Calvin that, hey, when you have them in here to do the rest of the town, I'd like to have mine done, make sure that's one of the project.
Yeah.
It's great by me.
right, and if it shaves a little bit off, keeps a little bit
Delegation
more in
at
the
its
savings
finest.
account, it's,
And
You have to do that half and half,
we're,
or you leave the truck somewhere else overnight, because
Haven't even got to the point of discussing that.
I
I
was
would
just
assume,
curious.
I would assume if that was a big issue, that I would hope maybe we could perhaps use the public works building and store them down
I
there.
would think so.
they're gonna come and store them in your driveway.
Just have to talk to my wife, she is the boss up there. Don't get on her lawn.
so, and
She's
along,
very fussy about her lawn.
along the same lines, the leadership meeting that, between Durham, Pownell, Freeport, and the RSU that met last week, one of the things that we're looking at, Durham and Pownell already put their paving stuff together to see what they can deals, and we're also wanting to work with Freeport because that'll add even more to the mix and so on. So
Right, keeping the, as long as they can keep their equipment within the same smaller area and not have to be trucking it around there.
Maybe that's like a bonus, freebie? What?
Because you get 6 inches of extra paving.
And is this for repaving the whole parking lot, or is it, okay? so
Yeah,
not
it's
just
supposed to be
one?
doing the entire parking lot.
and
The
then
guys had
concrete.
hoped that I could add, do have one difficult spot, but I didn't, it's not added on there. We have, backing into the fuel building, you actually end up pulling on to part of the dirt. So in all honesty, if there's a cost savings, I'd love to think that maybe I could clean that out enough so that I could actually get that fixed, because you actually have to pull onto the dirt area, pull in and back into the diesel, even everything that's from the engines, the Quinn especially, you've gotta have that space, so. Yeah, but it is for resurfacing, it's not for repaving. I think they talked about V'ing out the cracks or grinding where the cracks are and stuff.
I don't know much, but I heard
Fixing
something about
those
that, yeah.
on-
I don't, I'm not sure either, but I've asked questions here and there just because I'm
Yeah.
curious sometimes, and I've
Yeah,
heard
I
something.
know they talked about fixing those so they weren't a continuing or reoccurring issue, fixing those correctly. I know they talked about the door and about putting insulation board, or digging it out, putting insulation board and you know, and compact, and then I think there was actually gravel over it, or maybe it was just gravel underneath, compacting it again. I know that's all good, a good deep layer of gravel there, I do know that. But they talked about doing extra work there and then pouring concrete there, not paving.
That's a Freeport, they just did that too.
According to them, most all of the garages, municipal garages, fire stations and stuff like that are going with that concrete pad just outside their doors and stuff.
That guy's, a number I gave you, he did that one in Freeport, the concrete in front of their garage.
Do we want to leave this request as is? Or, I'm thinking, and, it could change on town floor, but, I mean, even though our roads need paving and things like that, so does this, and if we don't, I'd hate to, if this is just a resurface, I hate to think what a full redo is gonna be if we,
Right.
if we wait,
Right.
if we wait in 2, 3, 4 more years, if they have to do a full redo. I'd hate to think what that's gonna be, but,
I think it's important that we maintain
yeah.
what we do have, because we are looking down the barrel at having not done that for many, many, many years, and we are faced with huge costs of.
I don't think it's like we are fully intending on putting something out there for our roads this year too, so it's not like we'd be doing this and nothing on our roads.
Right. No. Yeah, leave it like it is.
Okay. Final one, purchase of the new engine package. Thoughts?
On an overview?
Sure.
Right. Well, that price was put in there, $474, and the reason it says not just engine, it says engine package, because in all honesty, one of them, there are 2 vendors that the committee's been working with, and they're actually, was the most expensive, and one was the least expensive. And if you remember right, the most expensive was over $500,000. But they've been working with them, and that's a number we can work with either one of those vendors and make it happen. And I'm actually hoping it's slightly below that, but it says package because a couple of pieces, if it's the lower priced one, there is some equipment that we do need to replace. But if we go with a higher priced one, we probably can't replace that equipment. It'll probably just be the engine. If we go with a lower priced one, I would recommend at least some of it go towards that equipment that we need to replace on the engine. As far as the the more expensive vendor, in order to get it down to that price, there needs to be prepayment. Well, prepayment in reality can happen at the order through company financing with them, and then we just transfer it to our bank in 2017. So theoretically, you have a loan out, but you're not making a payment until you actually make a full payment at the transfer of the apparatus. That's the only way to get that one down to that number.
the
That's why
interest-
it actually says package.
The interest would start accruing though on it.
It's what?
The interest would start accruing on
No,
it.
no, the interest actually, from what I understand and what I read, we would not end up paying interest on doing it that way. I need to do more research, but that still fits in that number.
Does the existing engine have any resale value?
The existing one, actually, I have it listed in there for reselling it that's at sales under 2000 and,
Page one.
To make salsa?
should be on page 5.
2017, 5,000.
Yep. Because if we order it, even if this gets approved at town meeting in April and we order it, no matter which one, and when we get into the particulars of the engine, if you guys don't mind and Keith doesn't mind, I'd rather he actually does represent it to you. My job is the financial aspect of it, the administration aspect of it, so the committee has actually worked very closely with the vendors and stuff, but I listed that as the resale value. Might be more, might be, I doubt if it'd be less, unless we wait. If we wait too long, I do think it'd be less, because then the only appeal it's gonna have is to what we sold most of our engines to, which is, you know, hey, I'm gonna rip that that fire body off there and use the chassis, or the last one, actually, engine 3 went to Topsom. They bought it down there, and they really bought it for tires and steel prices, what they really bought it for. So I think that's a safe number. Might be more. I don't think next year or in 17 that it would be less. I would, if anything, anticipate it might be more than that if we could go to like that Brindley Mountain and find a buyer for it, somebody that wanted to do some work to it and invest in it, going back in time. I doubt if they'd refurbish it, because going back in time, and I think I have that in my pile somewhere, but I think Larry Dingy gave us a ballpark estimate of $294,000 to refurbish that. So no matter how cheap I bought it, I'd never buy it for that price with the expectations that I was going to refurbish it. Yeah. But yeah, so that, and then, like I said, bottom line is none of that. This is really just looking for the authorization to finish working with the vendors. We can finish working with the vendors, but to really come up with a package so that we can actually make a purchase. Delivery would be in 17, probably it's about a year for delivery time. So that's actually when the first payment would actually probably not be due until after town meeting in 2017. Actually, financing, you might want to get estimates and stuff, but financing would actually not need to be secured until 2017, when the loan was transferred from the company to the town. And that's only in one case. In the other case, there'd be no loan to transfer.
So ultimately, the town people got to decide whether they want to buy this or not.
But we're just deciding to put it on the warrant or not, right?
Right. We could put it on the warrant, let them decide. Whether we take a stance on, tonight as far as shooting for it or not. It's up to the majority, I guess. I think we still put it on the warrant. Let Bill explain it all to them and see what they want to do.
We don't, where we aren't actually authorizing the loan on it, well, yeah, we're not actually authorizing the,
Ultimately, there would be, my understanding is, although we wouldn't have to negotiate a bond, there would still be
On one of them,
indebtedness with the
Right.
company, so I think that.
so we would need a treasurer's statement with this if we go with the,
right, if we go with that one company, I'm not sure, I'd have to research what their requirements are, but on one company, there would be a loan. Would be financing it through them with a full payment due and whatever, on delivery in 2017, I guess, for lack of a better way to phrase it.
because if we go that route, we need to make sure we had a treasurer's statement with that, that indicates our current indebtedness and what this will do, and, you know.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be honest, I was uncertain how to word the article. So I tried to make it,
Yeah, typically we don't purchase one year and then start paying the next year, do we? We often do our first payment the year we purchase, or the year we contract.
yeah, well, we have
purchase.
actually before with secured financing, that's the one that actually got us in trouble, was the tanker. The financing was supposed to be secured and it was supposed to be the bank's money.
Debt
And
ratio.
instead of utilizing the bank's money, a person at that point in time decided to utilize the town's money and save some interest money. Because I know that really threw me for a loop, because I called the bank right away and said, well, hey, we gotta get this straightened out, only to find out now. We don't have a nickel in it, man, you're on your own. So yes, we have done it similar to this before, because some of them, a lot of them now are actually shifting so that they want chassis payments. Which, this one here was actually put out saying we wanted bonding, so even if we do have to make chassis payments, I don't think the other one, I don't think required any prepayment, did they? If we ended up going with that, I don't think there was any requirement for prepay. You could do a prepayment if you wanted to save more money, but I don't think there was a requirement for prepayment. And in all cases, we told them that they needed to provide for a bond in the purchase price, a performance bond.
The one question that I have, and Ruth is gonna look into it, is whether or not we are restricted at all by statute as to what our debt ratio is going to be, so, because we will have to show some debt on this, and if we are also talking about road work and purchasing a plow truck, and we've just got to see what that treasurer's report is gonna look like, is regardless of where the funds, you know, the funds are coming out of the capital account and Public Works capital account, and everybody's got their pots of money set aside to pay for it, but we have to look at what our overall town indebtedness is to make sure that we're not
Right.
crossing any
Yeah, it
lines.
I don't know how the bonds and that works. I don't know if a loan separate for this is in the best interest, or if things were lumped together, if that's the best interest for the community. That's not my, that's your forte, I'm assuming.
That would be interesting.
I hadn't thought
And
about
I
that.
don't know how
thought
this
that either.
article needs to be worded. That's why I put it in there very generically with my explanation, because I don't know how it needs to be worded to accomplish.
Right.
But the intent would be to just seek the authorization to make the purchase, perhaps if necessary to reduce the price to secure the financing through the company, the manufacturer. It's actually an affiliate organization, but through the manufacturer if it reduced the price. But that the town would be spending no money on payments until 2017, more than likely June or later.
That's why I'd say that's my thought, sticking it on the warrant. Maybe we don't necessarily make a recommendation now, and I know this isn't gonna affect taxes this year, but it is gonna start, if we take out a bond, our bond's gonna be huge for how many of the years we do. It is gonna affect the taxes
We do need to know
after that, the next year.
whether there's a, yeah, as she said, whether there's a debt limit. And,
Yeah, I've emailed the auditor already to
Yeah.
see if they know.
and, because, I think, maybe the plow truck, we might not have to do any debt with it, but with the roads, we'll probably have to do a bond. And we still have the station bond, even though that rolls off after the end of this year.
I just wanna make sure we're not running afoul of any accounting, auditing.
But yeah, and if you can also check into how we need to word this question with the, because we've got two different options here. I guess we need to word it with the, I'm trying to think how to say it, the most restrictive, or the most, if we have to enter into a debt agreement with the company this year, we need to make sure we word it correctly for that.
In all reality, even if we did it on a local end, most of the time the payments have actually been, we borrow for the other apparatus, we borrow, say, I use tonight, we borrow February of 2016, our first payment usually is not due until February of 2017, unless we specifically request it to be structured differently. It's usually a year out before we make our payment.
Right.
So in all honesty, if it creates a nightmare doing that piece of it, if memory serves me right, the savings wasn't really financing with that company, it was rather the fact of the full prepayment on a purchase. So in all honesty, we could probably still look at locally financing it, rather than if it creates a nightmare to do the, hey, let's finance here and then move it here at this date and time, if that creates a nightmare, that aspect of it.
And I
I was
am,
hoping I could bow to somebody that had more expertise with that.
well, and I am interested in your other idea as far as whether or not there are any cost savings if we do decide to move forward and the town approves bonding several different things. Is there a cost saving in doing it in a single bond? Saving on bond counsel, saving on all of those things. So that's certainly something worth exploring, any place that we can
I don't know,
trim costs.
but if you're doing different terms on it, would that,
Right, I just
Yeah.
don't know what the,
okay. So for now, we'll leave this here, try to get correct wording, and I think that pretty well does it for the fire budget, unless you have something else.
No, no, and I know it looks very scary, but actually, if you really look at it, our overall increase to the tax base, or to the tax increases is, tried our best to keep it at a minimum. I know the numbers add up and look like they're scary, but a lot of them are coming out of, per se, savings plans and stuff like that.
Was there any desire to do anything more tonight, or are we gonna leave the rest of it for tomorrow night?
is there any, what do we have to still discuss recreation, and we still have to discuss
Administration salary
administration
lines.
salary lines, but do you
and-
wanna wait till there's a full board here to do that?
That's fine with me. Was there any other lines that we needed to look at that you can, again?
Parks and Recreation, we took care of that.
No, we still have to look at the request from the.
Oh, yeah, okay, for the, yep.
We had a bunch of questions for the various people, and I know that,
That's right.
that
We've got an
the
answer.
boosters got, but I don't know if any of the other groups have provided any answers.
All right, I mean, we can wait till tomorrow to see if we get any more answers on those.
Okay.
I'm
Not
fine
sure
with
how
that
come I got two
tonight.
page fours, so.
We do have employees that
They're
have.
supposed to have,
Found it.
but they're different.
So,
All right,
Absolutely.
so do I have a motion?
Motion to
This was my packet.
Oh,
So
see, I got
this
page
goes
4
back
there.
in
There's a
history.
motion to adjourn and a second, all in favor?
Second.
all right.
That's carried.